I'm here with Drahomira Mandikova, the Group Chief Sustainability Officer at Asahi Group Holdings, Will Rogers, the Group Technical Director at Charles Fareham and a member of 4Hops UK, and Heather Gardner, Policy Manager of Sustainability at British Beer and Pub Association, to talk about what is the reality of a night at the pub from a sustainability perspective. So let's start off just by giving people an understanding of what is the current environmental and social footprint of an average night at the pub. What are the factors that feed up into that footprint?
Right. So, hello, good evening. I would say kanpai because I'm coming from Tokyo. So nice to see you all. What a great setup to be in a pub. What a better place to connect, to speak, to open, to create a meaningful connection. That's what we all need for sustainability. And I would come probably a little to the past to get to the future related to pub and sustainability. So my grandparents, they had a pub in a very small village in Slovakia, where I'm originally from. And that was a place where everything what was important was happening. When people needed help, when people wanted to share happy moments, when people wanted to have somebody to talk about difficulties, when they're really creating these moments of the society supporting each other. So this social element and the importance of pub, because sustainability is about people, is about social elements and environment. So it was very important in the past. And I think this is what is really even more important in today's world, where the loneliness is part of the challenges we are living today. So creating the sense of belonging, creating the meaningful connections so that we speak together and find solutions to the issues, it's so important. And the environment is one of the issues which is on the agenda. And I always remember when my grandparents were speaking about how the pub was operated. And it reminds me about sustainability environment. They didn't call it like that. That was not the word at the time, but they were looking for all the local sourcing. They were really doing everything in circularity. They had returnable, reusable materials. Nothing was really single-used or wasted. They naturally use the ice from the rivers to cool beverages in the summer in the cellars. But we don't need to go to the past, and we see it now because the environmental element of the sustainability in the pub is really growing, is important. So in our space as Asahi, our intention and all the work goes with the net zero. We committed to 2040 net zero with scope 1, 2, and 3. And we work with our partners with the whole supply chain. And one of them are pubs, because pubs are the place where our products, it's coming to life. This is where it connects with people. So a lot of work is done on bringing beer in the draft form, so we don't need packaging, much better for environment. A lot of work is done with our draft equipment. So we are working with our partners in pub to ensure that they are able to decrease the electricity consumption, the water consumption. So it's go with the circularity. So sustainability in the pub can be the way how to be also not only good for nature, but also very efficient.
So I think you've put a positive spin on my question, which is fine. But I heard a few things: packaging, transport and sourcing, electricity, and water.
And waste.
And waste. All right. So 5 elements of lack of sustainability in a pub night. Heather, do you have anything to add to that list of what the footprint's looking like right now?
I think you've kind of nailed it. I think if you're thinking about sustainability of beer in particular, be thinking about the raw materials, so agriculture, barley and hop growing in the UK, as well as water and water efficiency. So, brewers in this country are very well versed and really engaged in managing their footprint really effectively, and that kind of flows through all the way to the pub. Pubs are also really want to, do the right thing. They want to reduce their impact, but the issue that we're having at the moment is that the economic pressures that pubs and businesses are facing in the UK with, increased operating costs, whether it's business rates, employment costs, EPR fees, packaging fees that are coming in this year. Everything is becoming more and more expensive just to maintain the status quo. So if we're thinking about sustainable business, it's becoming harder and harder for businesses to prioritize sustainability, where there are obviously efficiencies that businesses can take that would reduce costs, whether that's energy efficiency measures, water efficiency measures, but they just don't have the time, the resources to focus on that aspect all the time.
From an agricultural perspective, what are you seeing as the major challenges that growers of hops are facing?
Well, internationally, one of the main concerns of hop growers at the moment is actually fluctuating beer markets, knowing what to grow. But from an actual agronomic point of view, in the UK, at one stage, the UK was the biggest hop growing country in the world, 72,000 acres of hops. We're now down to about 1,500. And the really sad part of that is that the UK, with its maritime climate, is ideally placed for sustainability into the future. But we're down now to 45 families growing hops in the UK.
Why are hops so unpopular to grow in the UK?
They're really difficult to grow, and they're very much market-led. So if brewers and drinkers are not asking for beers with British hops in, the demand goes down and they won't be produced. They're quite expensive to produce. They're an intensive crop.
Heather, when you're thinking about how to source and kind of optimize supply that sits within the pub of various beers, but also other spirits and other alcohol, and demand, what tools do pubs have to hand right now to understand the market and make smart decisions there?
I think it's just about knowledge sharing and collaboration. So our members are often kind of talking about what their customers are wanting, and again, as you said, it's about beer, the share of the beer market. So we're looking at what customers want essentially, and you're always led by them. But the problem is, it's just getting more, as we said, more and more expensive. The price of a pint is nearly at £5 on average. So it's difficult. It's a difficult world at the moment.
Yeah. As Asahi, what are you most excited about? What progress have you made in driving sustainability that you are really excited about and that you think can be the future of sustainability in beer, but also in the world of pubs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the thing is about really creating the connections. There are two elements. I think if I look on the last few years, there was a lot of what went on pubs, and I don't want to keep the negative feelings in the room, but we went through the COVID where a lot of pubs were closed. A lot of pubs actually didn't manage to survive this moment. But I think what we learned and what is unique about beer industry is that we managed to connect together and to say, so how we can work together within the ecosystem to help this part, this hospitality, which is so important for people and for us to really thrive in the future. And what we learn is that the solutions goes beyond obvious areas. For example, we look on if there is a new legislation which required electronic evidence of the revenues, we just said, okay, so let's sit down, let's connect the brains from the IT area to create the applications which will go beyond what is required by legislation, which will actually enable pubs, for example, to collect the data, to better manage their stocks, to ensure the financial, economic elements of the operations being improved. So always, I think we learn how to, and that's something what I believe is a future, work together with different stakeholders to understand the whole ecosystem, because then you will find the links to sustainability, where can be energy saved. So it's efficient. Or when you can bring the applications which will help the operation, but it will be much better. It will be the benefit. It will be not. So just to use every opportunity where the change is either forced or welcomed, how we can bring another benefit, another additional value, which will help this hospitality sector to thrive in the future.
I think one of the things that's really interesting is the British public, from what I can understand, and I live here, but I don't claim to understand the pub culture fully, but is really keen on, this is my local, it's independent, we want to support it. What do pubs lose in terms of their ability to innovate, their ability to perhaps embrace technology, embrace sourcing, share knowledge from being independent? Is there a reason that we're seeing increasing shifts to kind of franchises of pubs? Does this make them more likely to survive, even if the British culture is perhaps against this concept?
I mean, you're exactly right. Pubs are so important in this country. They're a huge part of our culture, our heritage. You know, 3/4 of British adults think that pubs make a positive contribution to their community. They are really important for tackling social isolation. They're really important for our high streets. We've done some research that shows that, if you've got a pub on your high street, you can regenerate them, and how important they are for new communities as well. So they are really important. In terms of kind of independent or franchises, they both offer something different to the community, both have a role to play. Obviously, there's economies of scale. If you've got a bigger pub co that's there, they've got more resources behind it. They've probably got more knowledge about sustainability initiatives and how various things like energy efficiencies can really help your pub operations. But yeah, we're losing about 6 pubs a week at the moment. They're closing, and it's really bad times for the high street, for our culture.
Well, when you think about the hops economy kind of being very much dependent on demand, is there any consideration about shipping hops out of the UK? Is there a way to revitalize that hops growing environment, or is it sort of preserve what we have because it's not going to get any better than this?
No, I think there are massive opportunities for exporting UK hops. Our breeding and selection process had been selecting for what we call noble hops, very traditional varieties. And I think it's important that we address the new world style hops with breeding. And at the same time, we address disease resistance issues. Hops are grown as a monoculture, so every time you look at a field of hops, they'll all be genetically identical. And I think, through collaboration through the whole supply chain, we can look at the sustainable production of hops. At the moment, we're working with Bref and Asahi. We've got 2 PhD projects going on. We're looking to really make a direct impact on the sustainability of growing those hops. And with that argument and possible yield improvements, we can take this and export it to the world.
We've spent a little bit of time so far talking about the advantages of pubs to communities, the fact that they are an epicenter for combating loneliness. We haven't spoken about the risk, though. If the price of a pint keeps rising, does this mean that actually we might not be able to socially sustain a night at the pub for everyone? Does it become a night at the pub is only for those who can afford a night at the pub? Is there a risk point there?
I mean, it is a risk, but I think it's important to know that pubs are, evolving, and they're changing, and they're becoming, a place for everyone. Things like, low varieties, become more affordable. They become a more welcoming space for communities to meet. So I think they're evolving into becoming a community space rather than just a place to go and have a beer. I think that's really important.
What's driving that evolution? Necessity?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just because, as you say, a night at the pub is becoming more expensive, not because they want to make more profits, but if a pint is almost average £5, the publican's making 12p. So, the only way that the price is going is up, just to be able to maintain a business model.
But I think there is much more than only like there is a pub looks like this and people go for beer. I think it's also about building a new way, a new role of the pubs, because they really start to play a much bigger role, and also are more inclusive in a way who is coming there, because it's about it. You can't believe that you can do the same thing for 50 years. The same people will go there, they will drink the beer the same way. So this is, I think, what we do a lot as a brewers. We are bringing a new choices. We all have 0.0 in our hands. So the bringing the choices to different consumers is actually inviting more and different people to the pub environment. We did a lot of campaigns in many countries really to speak about, to let others drink what they want, because there was a lot of, pressure related to the alcohol. You only can drink alcohol. You are not a friend if you don't drink alcohol. So I think this is also about the way how to make this environment to be more inclusive, more open for people. So you can go there, you can choose, you have much more choices, which we try to bring as brewers. And we have a great advantage having a portfolio, not only with the alcoholic beers, but also non-alcoholic.
Right. And so in your kind of collective vision, in a pub that is the modern pub, so to speak, it's attractive to our Gen Z population that drinks less. It provides perhaps a community-oriented feel versus just a good old drinking hub feel. What needs to change? How do we facilitate the shifting of pubs at scale to keep them alive? Because if they don't make the shift, they're not going to be alive. We're losing 6 a week at this point. What do we do?
I think it's about they will adapt or fail is kind of it, and I think they're adapting, which is brilliant to see. But
there's no way that this audience sitting here today can help facilitate that adaptation and accelerate it.
Go to the pub, buy a beer.
Yeah,
that's not going to help them.
But yeah, you already did. Yeah. Okay, fine, fair enough.
Well, look, there are many things which I see in many countries is happening with, the owners of the pubs really thinking about my pub is a place which in the morning plays a different role and is inviting different people than during the lunchtime and during the evening. So it's also the flexibility of the thinking how that environment can be shifted to address the needs and expectation of consumers and customers who are coming there. And they have a different things. And also it's a bringing the different perspective, like what we with Asahi Super Dry, we are now in long-term partners with the rugby, and we are looking on a different ways how to engage with people on this topic. So from May, in more than 700 pubs, there will be a promotion of the women rugby. Not the standard way. So it's just to do it differently, show a different way, attract attention, to show the different aspects of our life, more diverse. This is also something what can bring the energy and to invite people to come to pub to have a beer or something else and enjoy time there with friends or alone. Depends on you, what you want. That's the thing.
And just thinking about, obviously, we've said that it can be difficult for pubs themselves to understand inventory and make sure they're matching supply and demand. From the Asahi side, when you're thinking about how do you run a more profitable business, are you doing some of this mapping and using, whether it's technology, it's AI, to understand where you're needing more frequent deliveries, where stock is piling up, to try and optimize your distribution to pubs themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a part of all the sustainability strategies, the planning, but it doesn't go only from how it comes from us to the pub. I think what is really important is that we work with pubs. So we have our people who are going to the pubs are the experts. They are expert on the whole the economies and sustainability. So they look at the whole model in the pub to help and to work with the owners on this. And what is important is that we are not alone, and that's the element of this cooperation, because you go there and you have many suppliers who are bringing their products there. So how we can work together in this ecosystem, that's something what I think is important, and it's improving situation.
Are you optimistic about the future of the British beer industry and pubs? Be honest. You've had a few drinks, or at least one.
I think you hit the nail on the head. British beer drinking culture probably needs to change. That's why we're losing lots of pubs. Great pubs will continue to exist and thrive, but the numbers will drop. I'm optimistic that as generations move through, at the moment, the 18 to 25s are not drinking at all. When I was 18 to 25, I'm going to say I
in the pub.
I supported several pubs on my own. But I think, as they mature, they will look for other outlets. And the important thing is to keep pubs diversifying, looking for new ways to appeal to those customers, to get people. Historically in Britain, the British pub was looked at as a very male-dominated environment, and I think we need to change that, make it open to everybody. They're amazing community facilities, and there's a great opportunity to grow them, or at least stem the tide of reductions. But it does require the pub owners to really address that, the perception in people's heads that it's only somewhere to go and drink beer.
Heather, are you optimistic?
I'm very optimistic. I think that it will change. The pub in 20, 30 years probably will look different than it does now. But I think we're starting to see a real tide of change and becoming really welcoming community spaces with something for everyone. Yeah.
And you?
I believe it's a great opportunity. I think this the social role of the pub is something what will be strengthened in the future, which is a very good base for the thriving business. And we speak about sustainability. It's about circularity. I think the sustainability for pubs is the opportunity to engage with people and also be profitable, because there is the opportunity for the efficiency still with the circularity. So yeah, I'm optimistic.
Are there any rowdy pub attendees who would like to shout a question to our panelists? Ah, yes, one right here.
Tom Grand, Eden Geothermal. Guinness have been doing a great job of extolling the health benefits of beer, which I'm certainly familiar with. But I was wondering, to what extent does the brewing industry see an opportunity? I'm not a brewing expert, but I understand one of its byproducts at stages of the brewing cycle is heat. To what extent could brewers contribute to the low carbon heat networks and become energy centers in the future?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And yeah, there is a lot of heat expended when you brew beer. A lot of breweries are looking into kind of collecting that heat or managing that heat, but it's really, really expensive and really difficult to retrofit to an old brewery, for example. And the capital funding just isn't there at the moment. Some brewers have used the IETF funding, but unfortunately that's now been curtailed. So that option for capex that's really needed to invest in big technologies like that is just not there. But it is definitely something that the industry is interested in and willing to do.
Maybe a call to action for us rowdy protesters to stand up and demand for capex for beer brewing byproduct heat. Any other rowdy questions from our actually very tame crowd? You clearly haven't had enough to drink. No? Well, in that case, everyone, cheers.
Cheers.
And go enjoy the drinks reception.
Cheers.
Cheers.